Hello, this is Miss Melissa at the Jackson County Public Library. I'm going to show you how to do a fall craft with just paper plates and some paint or markers or crayons. I got this idea from my niece who made this paper plate sunflower all on her own. She's in 4th grade and came up with the idea herself. Unfortunately, the colors don't look as pretty in this lighting, but you can make yours as pretty as you want them to be. Let me show you how to start. You just need paper plates, which most people have laying around the house. Or if not, you could always just use a round piece of paper. If you don't know how to draw a circle, you can trace around a dish or a pan from your mother's kitchen and draw a circle. You might need to have a grown-up help you cut things out. Always be careful with sharp scissors because you don't want to get hurt. Now, most of these I made with just ordinary white paper plates, but you can also get all kinds of different color ones, different sizes at the different stores. So those are fun. That way you don't have to mess with markers or crayons or paint. You can also get some different colors that, just strike your fancy as being really pretty. I wanted to start with a daisy because I thought that was the easiest with a white paper plate. And I want to show you, I just went around and cut different pieces of the daisy. I just took the scissors and cut as far in as I thought a daisy's petals would go. Then I colored in the middle with yellow paint. Now, you may not do very well making a circle. I don't, which is why paint and crayon and markers are so forgiving. You don't have to be perfect. I used paint because for me it was faster, but you might like markers or colored pencils or crayons better. Whatever you like better, that's what you can use. It's your craft for you to do. Now this is a picture of several different flowers. This one's the daisy. It's got white petals with a yellow center. So I'm just making a yellow center. And it might have been easier if I had drawn a circle on it first, but I didn't think about that. But anyway, there's my daisy. I might try to smooth it out and make the circle a little better later, but that gives you the idea of what a paper plate daisy looks like. And I cut the strips into it pretty far in because, as you can see right here, daisies have pretty long petals and tiny centers. Now, the next thing I wanted to show you was a sunflower like my niece made. Actually, first I'll show you a Black-Eyed Susan. That's this one right here. It's almost like a daisy, except it's got yellow petals and a brown or black middle. I'm going to use brown, no I won't, because that's not been opened yet. I'll use black. Be careful. Black can make a very big mess. Just barely touching it, I got black paint on my fingers. But of course, if you're using crayons or markers, it won't be that big of a deal. Comes out pretty thick, so I'm trying to be very careful. You want to make sure that you're using or wearing clothes that you won't get in trouble for getting paint on. Maybe ask your mom for sure, so that I don't want you to get in trouble doing this craft. This one, like I said, is a Black-Eyed Susan, and it's yellow all the way around with just a black circle in the middle. That's why it's called a Black-Eyed Susan. I don't know why it's called Susan. I didn't look up why we have the different flower names, but that's something interesting to find out, is why we have different flower names. Now this one I had already painted because we don't really have time for you to sit here and watch me paint them and then watch the paint dry on every single thing. I painted some of it before I cut it. I did want to show you on a Black-Eyed Susan. I go way far in too with the cut because a Black-Eyed Susan has very long petals, as you can see. The next one that I did was a sunflower. Now I thought this was really interesting with a sunflower because the middle of the sunflower looks different depending on when it's growing. Right here is the very beginning. See how it's cool and green in the middle when it first starts growing? And then it gets a little bit yellower. And then as the bees start visiting it, it gets black in the middle. And these little yellow flowers around it. There's some that's kind of like orangish. And there's more black and brown in the middle. I thought that was super cool. I had never really noticed that there's a real pattern in a sunflower. Now you can do this several different ways. You can take your finger and do fingerprints and make yourself a pattern for your not black-eyed Susan, for your sunflower. Again, like I said, make sure you're wearing something that your mom won't care if you get paint on. And you can make your pattern however you want. Or you could just make a big black circle in the middle, like I did with the black-eyed Susan. But a sunflower, you'll notice, has a bigger circle in the middle. It's a bigger center. So that's why I did my fingerprints bigger. I also did the flower petals bigger, just because I wanted it to look more like a sunflower. You also will want to have something to wipe your hands on, especially if you get paint on your fingers. I've got alcohol wipes, paper towels work well. Again, don't wipe it on anything that your mom does not want paint on, because I don't want you to get in trouble. Another cool thing I thought of, and I did not have any sunflower seeds, which would be really cool to glue into a sunflower, but I did have a bunch of other little seeds that you could glue in the middle of your sunflower. Now you might want to use just regular school glue or some craft glue. I decided I would try to use hot glue, which can be kind of dangerous, but if you're an older student, like 10 or 11 or 12, and you like to do crafts and your mom lets you do things with a hot glue gun, you can use a hot glue gun and put different seeds, like sunflower seeds, or I picked corn because it looked pokey. Like these looked kind of pokey in the middle, and I thought I could glue the seeds on. Now I haven't actually done this, so we'll see how well this does. You might hear me holler if I burn my finger, or you might actually see me get a very cool pattern going. I won't have time to do a whole big pattern and do the whole thing, but you kind of get the idea. When you squirt the glue in the middle, you can do the seeds. If you want brown seeds, like when the sunflower is brown, these are pinto beans, I think, some kind of bean, you can use all kinds of seeds. And you know what? You don't even have to really use a flower that's a real flower. I looked up real flowers to do pictures of, because I thought that would be neat. But you could make up a flower. I decided I'd make up a blue one. I started to buy blue plates at the store, and then I didn't. And I kind of wish now I had, because they were really cool. But this one I'm just cutting the petals in a made-up way. Certain flowers have certain kinds of petals, but if it's a made-up flower, you can cut the petals any way you want. I chose this blue just because I thought it was a pretty blue. But the plates I almost bought at the store were turquoise. Those would have really been pretty. That's how fast it took me just to paint that. I got all of these painted in quite a quick way. Now, you could use anything for the middles of these. You could use beads, or you could use beans or corn. You could use Cheerios, or Fruit Loops. Let me glue some of them down. Those are fast to do. And if you use school glue, they'll glue on pretty quickly too. And it's not quite as dangerous as using hot glue. You could also use something like buttons. These are some fancy buttons I found. I'm not going to glue them on though right now because I wanted to show you some other stuff. You could cut off the ends of Q-tips and they would look like the fancy little pokey parts of flowers that stick out, the stamens. Those would have to be stuck with hot glue to make them look right. But there's one sticking out there. I don't know if you can see it sticking out like that. Let me stick another one out here if I can get it to not fly across the table when I cut it. Oh, that one flew across the table. Let me grab this one and hold it this way so it doesn't fly. There we go. Let me pick up my glue stick. I dropped it. Alright, let me stick a little bit more hot glue down here. And there I just stuck another one of the ends of the Q-tips. Oh, one of my pieces of corn stuck to my wet paint. Hopefully I didn't get my shirt in my wet paint. This is one of my good shirts. You can stick other things. You can stick marshmallows. You can stick cool looking cereal. I found this at our house. I don't think anybody was eating it because I don't think it tastes that good. Probably stale. But I thought, wow, wouldn't this be neat on a flower? To make a pretty center for a flower. You can use anything you want to make your flower cool. Now that one's done kind of in a hurry with several different things. But like I said, you can use whatever. You could use googly eyes and make yourself a googly-eyed spy flower. Have you ever seen any things on TV or in books that were imaginative flowers that somebody made up? You can do that too. Those people that wrote those books or did that TV show, they had an imagination. And they sat around and thought about, what would I like to do? This would be fun to do, or this wouldn't be fun to do. And they experimented. Experimenting's fun. And a lot of mommies, as long as you're not messing up their stuff, they don't care for you to experiment. Because it's a fun thing to do, especially now when a lot of us are stuck at home. Now, another flower that I thought of that had petals like a daisy and a sunflower, or a black-eyed Susan, is a purple coneflower. They kind of look like they're upside down. For them, I used one of these bright pink plates. And I tried to cut it on each of the creases, but I didn't cut it very straight. That's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. I save lids sometimes to do crafts with. And for the purple coneflower, I thought this lid would be perfect in the middle. Notice how a purple coneflower has a pointy middle sticking way up, and then the petals go down. That's what I wanted to do with this one. Now, it's not perfect. Maybe if I had modeling clay or something else like that, maybe I could get it to be more perfect. Now, I am using hot glue on this because I don't know any other way to get a plastic lid to stick to a paper plate. But anyway, there is my purple coneflower with a pointy up middle and with petals that bend down. A lot of these flowers are blooming right now. Not all of them, but a lot of them. When I saw the red plates in the store, the first thing I thought of was poinsettia flowers, like this one right there. Those are, a lot of times we put them out at Christmas. So I made a poinsettia. Now this one doesn't have nearly enough petals. So I just took a couple more plates and I started making more flowers out of them. I just kind of tried to swoop. I looked at the way the petals were in my picture. That's when it helps to have a picture. Now you do kind of have to poke some holes in this, so that might be something an adult might have to do for you. Now this one is a bigger one, so it's going to go in back, but I needed another littler one, I thought. Maybe not, maybe just a middle-sized one. But I cut the edge of the plate off. This is where the plate would have been. And I went ahead and cut the edge of the plate off. Let me see if I can do this right. I have to think about what I'm doing. Sometimes I can't think and talk at the same time. My friends laugh at me because I say that. But sometimes you have to concentrate on what you're doing. I'm not doing a perfect job. I'm just doing my best. And it's fun to craft. It's something fun to do. And like I said, you can use any other colors. Poinsettias also come in pink and white and a darker red. So this one I could layer behind here to fill in some of the holes, and behind here. So I have lots of petals just like in a real poinsettia. Now I was able to use, these things are called brads. I was able to use them for the centers because I thought they really looked like the center of a poinsettia flower. You might have used them at school before. They have these little things on the back that you bend, and that way your craft or your paper or whatever it is you have them hooked in, it stays flat and so they don't fall. What I did was I took a sharp knife, and this is something that you might have to have your mom do for you, and I cut a hole in the middle of my flower. I cut 3 little holes really, and then I poked the brads through. I tried it with scissors and it just wouldn't work right. The scissors weren't sharp enough and I was afraid I was going to cut myself, which I didn't want to do. Crafts aren't any fun if you end up bleeding. But anyway, that's just a poinsettia. That was just something I thought of when I saw the red plates. And I love poinsettias. I didn't think, well, there weren't any green plates, but I could have used a bigger green plate and made leaves. You could make leaves and stems for any of these if you want to. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you was a little bit more complicated one. This is a zinnia. Now right here you've got chrysanthemums, and right here you have zinnias. Chrysanthemums have pointy leaves. Zinnias have more rounded leaves. I love zinnias. I think they're really pretty. And chrysanthemums are pretty too, but zinnias have more brighter colors. Now I already painted most of these because I didn't want to make you sit there and watch my paint dry, but I wanted to show you how fast it is just to paint one of these. I could have used the bright pink, but the bright pink plates that I bought, but I kind of like this shade of pink. Chrysanthemums and zinnias come in lots of different colors. And what I liked about them was they were layered. There's lots and lots of petals in them. So what I did was I just took a bunch of different plates and made a bunch of little bumpy flowers out of them. I just kept cutting them farther and farther. See here, the very, very middle of a paper plate? Then I made one a little bit bigger. And again, I could have tried to draw it, but I don't draw very well. And it doesn't have to be perfect, as long as it's pretty and it's something I like. So I just went through and cut it. Now, this kind of helped me because of the way that paper plates have these ridges. That kind of helped me a little bit to know where to cut the bumps for the edge of the flower petals, though in the middle there weren't any. So I wasn't quite as careful or quite as gorgeous with doing those as with the others. And I just kept getting bigger and bigger with my flower petals as I went. Each time I did them, I thought, oh, that's going to be enough. And then I thought, no, I think I need a little bit more. I could have made dozens of these and had a great, great big zinnia if I had made the petals pointier. I would have had a chrysanthemum. You can look up all of these flowers online or maybe in books to see which ones, which colors they are. Or like I said, you can make up the colors yourself. Here's one I'm almost to the edge of the plate. And I'm just stacking them up from smallest to largest. These two I'd already cut. This one I just barely cut the edge off the plate. And this is the one I just finished painting. I did it last so that I wouldn't get wet. That's the whole plate. And there I have them all stacked up. I haven't glued them together. And I didn't stick any center in the middle, but you could stick, again, some cereal in the middle, or you could buy some flower things at the store and cut them up and glue them in the middle. There's all kinds of things you could do with flower crafts just to cheer yourself up. I hope you make something pretty and have fun today. Thank you. Bye-bye.